Welcome to Dodgers Dogs. As part of the Dodgers Daily Network, Casey Porter here. What an exciting game that was. Holy cow. You talk about bookends. Shohei Ohtani makes his debut back. As part of the Dodgers
and then
Daily Network,
Dalton Rushing finishes the day
what an exciting with a walk-off hit. Wow, what a day. What a game. And for spring training, man, that felt like, it felt like a playoff game. It was that exciting. Then there was great action in the middle of the game. You had Nick Frasso pitching, Jack Dreyer, Jack Little, Carlos Duran got to pitch. You got to see Tommy Edman hit a home run. Mookie Betts got a hit. You got to see Justin Dean steal a base and show his wheels moving to first base. Cody Hosey got to play. Alex Freeland got an at-bat. He struck out, but still got an at-bat. Racking up at-bats and just putting one on top of the other is really kind of the goal there. What just an amazing, exciting game. I am just so excited right now about what I just saw, and it's just spring training. This is a roster. I said this right before spring training started. This is a roster, and this is a spring training that I'm looking forward to, have been looking forward to more than any other, just because, like I had mentioned, you have all these battles, and you have all these great prospects that are fighting for all of these spots. But then also you have the firepower of Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and Shohei Ohtani and Dustin May. We'll get to the Dustin May outing here in just a minute. So you have the best of all worlds, man. You got great prospect action. I mean, the first game of spring training, over 100 guys got in. And then I'll tell you another part of this. If you're not carefully listening to Tim Neverett and Rick Monday talk. Of course, sometimes I post entire at-bats just because they're just so wonderful. I mean, Joe Davis is awesome. Of course, Vin Scully is the greatest thing ever to walk the face of the earth in terms of broadcasting. He literally is the reason I'm a diehard Dodgers fan. But, hey, I think I love Rick Steiner. I could listen to him read a phone book, too. Steven Nelson, absolutely awesome. I could listen to Eric Karros talk baseball all day long. Joe Davis, absolutely awesome. But I'll tell you this, especially for this setting, Tim Neverett and Rick Monday, if you want to learn, about the prospects, which Tim Neverett just does such a ridiculously awesome job. He knows that Jack Little is from Las Vegas and he went to Stanford, and he knows that, Steve Dreyer, Jack Dreyer's dad, played for the Rangers, and he just knows the ins and outs, and he talks to these guys, and he's actually legitimately interested. And I'll tell you a reason why Tim Neverett is interested in these prospects, and that is because his son, Matt Neverett, who I get to see every time that Las Vegas comes to Oklahoma City, is the play-by-play voice for the AAA Las Vegas Aviators, who is the AAA affiliate of the A's. So Tim has a vested interest and an inside knowledge of minor league baseball, and specifically the Dodgers, because the Aviators play the Dodgers. And so he knows all these guys. He goes into detail with them. It's just simply fantastic. And then Rick Monday, just the baseball you can learn listening to him. It is, I call it, a lot of times I say, treasure troves of tools. Rick Monday is a treasure trove of just knowledge and wisdom and awesomeness. One of the things that really drew me into Vin Scully, and Joe Davis has done this some too, but still it's Vin Scully, and it's Vin Scully all the way. And then also Joe Garagiola, is that he would tell these stories that are just so natural about all of these guys that played and were heroes in the game before I was, alive. And so a lot of times those are the guys that you idolize the most because you didn't actually get to see them, so they're like mythical creatures. And him and Joe Garagiola would tell these stories about Daffy Dean and Dizzy Dean and being in Brooklyn and that kind of thing, and I just would sit there mesmerized. I say that to say Rick Monday can tell stories. So, for instance, they got into the Oklahoma City Comets talk the other day, and I got to meet Danny Mantle. I went over that story, and they were going over how Danny Mantle came to Oklahoma City, and he was there for the media event to usher in the new name, the Oklahoma City Comets, and to tie in Mickey Mantle into that name because Mickey Mantle was the Commerce Comet from a small town in northeastern Oklahoma. And Rick Monday, lo and behold, went into the conversation about how he got to play with Mickey Mantle and how Mickey Mantle came up to him and called him by his first name. And that was like one of the greatest baseball moments of his life. So beyond just the great action in this spring training, we get to listen to two guys tell stories about A, the prospects, and B, baseball, that if you're a baseball fan whatsoever, and then you're a baseball fan and a guy who loves the prospects like I do, like on my social medias, I joked with a post, hey, you know you love recovering prospects when you know Shohei Ohtani's going to hit next inning, but you do all your errands. Then, okay, you wait to do your errands to make sure and get to watch Jack Little pitch, and you risk missing Shohei Ohtani hit. That way you can be back in time to see Nick Frasso pitch, right? If that's your agenda, you know you're definitely somebody who loves the prospects. I joked about that, but I really wasn't joking. I enjoy seeing these guys that much. But, hey, Dalton Rushing 2 hits tonight. So here's the deal. I've said this many times. There's a reason why Dalton Rushing is on the untouchable list, and there's no such thing as untouchable if the right deal comes. And if the right prospects are offered back, there's always a price tag to every player, right? I mean, at some point, you have to take the deal. But as untouchable as you can be, there's a reason why Dalton Rushing is that. And yes, it is the great hit tool. 115-mile-an-hour single up the middle. That impressed Rick Monday. I can tell you that. They were both, him and Tim were very, very impressed with the exit velo. So that's number one. He hits the ball very hard, right? But here's the thing that really worried me about Dalton Rushing. He is so team-oriented in terms of how competitive he is. He grew up in the, I believe, the Memphis area, always winning. He went to Louisville because they always win. He got into the Dodgers culture, and he was so excited because the Dodgers put such an emphasis on winning. So when Dalton Rushing is at his best is when the team needs him to come through to help win a game. So all of the individual accolades, hey, Dalton Rushing is the number one prospect, Dalton Rushing. It worried me a little bit that Dalton wasn't going to enjoy playing for the individual and instead needed to get into a team environment where he was competing to win and not competing to promote Dalton Rushing. And so whenever he got into the environment tonight where he needed to get a base hit to help his team win, that was a situation that is in his sweet spot. That is exactly what Dalton Rushing did. It put him back into the Dalton Rushing compete mode, and you see what happens. Dalton Rushing had a 115-mile-an-hour single, then he had the walk-off. And I'll tell you another thing about that, too. It's kind of like a shooter. Once they make that first shot, it gets that lid off. Then all the other shots become a lot easier. Once Dalton Rushing got that first base hit, got the lid off, you figured at that point he could relax and then just become Dalton Rushing, and that's exactly what happened. So I was very excited to see that. Hey, I'll tell you another guy. We're going to get into all this. We're going to talk about Shohei Ohtani's home run. We're going to talk about Dustin May. We're going to talk about yesterday's game. We have a ton to talk about. Get on the horn. Get everybody over here to Dodgers Dawgs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Let's talk Dodgers baseball. It is about 8 o'clock on the West Coast. It's 10 o'clock my time. We're going to talk about it until we don't have anything else to talk about. I'm going to the farm tomorrow. Going to get the chainsaw out and have a heck of a good time. So decided to go on tonight after tonight's exciting game and talk Dodgers baseball. How about Justin Dean? Justin Dean playing a mean center field, stole a base there. Of course, he got thrown out trying to steal third, but he did steal second. After an infield base hit, I have been very, very, very impressed with Justin Dean. Let me go ahead and actually throw him up and see if you can actually see right here let me do this right here. Let me create a new, right there. I'm going to cut that over right here. This is Justin Dean right here, right? This has been a very exciting player. I'm not going to put it in full blown because I'm going to see if that works. This young man right here has really impressed me in spring training. with the way that he has played. Center field is what caught my eye to begin with, and then just his speed and the way he plays, very, very good. Jackson Ferris got to pitch tonight. How about that, right? Let's go ahead and scroll down to Jackson Ferris. Let me get to him and get to his video right here. Jackson Ferris. Let me scroll over. See if you can see that right here. This is Jackson Ferris right here in the middle. Jackson Ferris looked very good tonight, I thought. And I thought he got in there, and the Dodgers fans got to see him pitch, and that was super, super exciting. So Jackson Ferris got in. Of course, he came back in the Michael Busch trade. Very impressive. How about this last year for Jackson Ferris? Last year, he touched 96. Backdoor sliders, commanded both sides of the plate. And just to be honest with you, he really gathered a ton of momentum towards the end of last year. Actually, let me scroll down here and get to a little bit more on him. Yeah, made his debut on the main field tonight. And I'll tell you one thing about Jackson Ferris: confidence, swag. He has all of that going for him. He is a young man he's the type that you want to follow because you know that he has confidence in himself. Came over with Zaire Hope in the Michael Busch trade. And as much as I love Michael Busch, the Dodgers won that trade, no doubt about that. So last year, Jackson Ferris, ERA of 3.20, WHIP of 118, 145 strikeouts, and 126.2 innings. Actually, let me get some Jackson Ferris video up on the board, and we can actually be taking a look at him instead of looking at me. So give me just a second. Let me get him up on the board, and let's get after it and talk some Jackson Ferris. There he is right there. Okay, so Jackson Ferris last year, ERA 3.20, WHIP 118, 145 strikeouts, and 126.2 innings. So how about that? 145 strikeouts, 126.2 innings. And here's so explosive, no doubt about that. He's got that, look at that big breaking ball right there. Then he's got that back foot slider. I mean, that hitter's not even mad. He's like, I can't hit that, right? That fastball right there, it registered 92 on that gun, but he hit as high as 96 on the gun last year with the fastball. You can see 93 there. And he had that big backdoor slider. So not only explosive with all the strikeouts, the 145, look at that confidence right there. Just like he knew that was going to happen. Nothing about that surprised him. Kind of like the way Dalton Rushing reacted tonight. But also very reliable. So here's the deal. Jackson Ferris went at least 5 innings in 17 of his starts last year, and he went 6 innings at least 6 times. Not at least, but 6 times. Let me say that again. Jackson Ferris, 5 innings in 17 starts last year, 6 innings, 6 different times. Let me go ahead and click that video one more time. I'll throw up a different video on the board for you so we can see a different outing for Jackson Ferris. So very explosive, 145 strikeouts in 126.2 innings. Also very durable. Again, 5 innings, 17 starts, 6 innings, 6 different times. Very tough for lefties to pick up. You can see right there. It's hard to stay on the ball there. Easy power, moves the ball right very well with big sweeping breakers that you've seen. His fastball cuts and turns right as well. He has good velo, very good deception, lots in swing and miss to his game. So Jackson Ferris is very, very, very good. Tommy Edman, if you have not gone to my social medias, go to my social media and watch the video of Rick Monday talking about Tommy Edman. I'll tell you, there's a million different ways you can describe players, but I'll say this about Tommy Edman. For one, with all the fancy things you could say, I'll say this, and this spans a generation of time. 150,000 years from now, if baseball still exists, this will still stand the test of time. He's a ball player, right? That's number one that I'll say about him. 2, I'll say he's a little guy, but he's not really a little guy, right? I mean, he can hit tanks. He's called Tommy Tank. So, yes, he's a little guy, and he can play that little guy profile. He can have the bat-to-ball skills and play a good second base and get on base. So, yeah, he's a little guy, but he's not really a little guy because he can also hit home runs, right? And then the last thing I'll say, this is the biggest compliment that I could give any player. And I give it whenever I'm trying to give the grandest of compliments. And that is, I want Tommy Edman on my team. Period. End of discussion. That's how I feel about Tommy Edman. And I love watching him play. I enjoyed watching his performance tonight. I thought that was simply fantastic. So Tommy Edman looked very good. That was a lot of fun. And if you can't tell, hey man, I talk process a lot, but if you can't tell with kind of the way I am tonight, winning, even in spring training, winning is a heck of a lot funner than losing. I will say that. Some more Jackson Ferris right there. So let's continue on with some of the action tonight, and we're going to back our way all the way up to the Shohei Ohtani home run, to the Dustin May performance, and everything else. But it was so exciting the way that it ended. I wanted to kind of start on the back end and work my way forward. How about the Maytag, Jack Dreyer, young man who was put on the 40-man roster in the offseason because he is so good. This is a guy that just continues to get better and better and better. Hey, like Kike Hernandez said, this is a roster that is filled fuller than a Bad Bunny concert, right? So I get it. But what I'll say about Jack Dreyer is that Los Angeles is on the West Coast, right? That is where he needs to make his major league debut this year. He has been that successful ever since he stepped into a Dodgers uniform. It's just been a whole lot of fun to watch. He's super competitive. He's super analytical. He knows how to sequence. He's 3 or 4 steps ahead of every hitter every time that he faces hitters. And it's just a lot of fun to watch him pitch. And he is really, really, really good. So another guy I wanted to mention tonight, and he took a lot of grief. I can tell you I got a lot of messages, a lot of DMs, and a lot of just comments on my posts about Justin Jarvis. Congratulations, Justin. Of course, he caught the one in self-defense, but 2 innings tonight, scoreless. Good bounce back. Did you see the curveball? So my comment on Justin Jarvis after the first outing when he gave up all the runs and people were just wanting to throw him away and this and that, which is fine. Fans is short for fanatics, right? My comment on Justin Jarvis was, hey, the Jack Murphys, the Tom Kunis's, the Jonah Rosenthals, all the scouts, the Billy Gasparinos, all the people in the system saw something they wanted in Justin Jarvis, and who am I to tell them no on that, right? So if they saw something in Justin Jarvis, then obviously there's something there, and therefore we just need to continue to watch him to see what that is, because obviously it's there. Otherwise, the Dodgers wouldn't have picked him up, right? So you saw it today. How about that big 12-6 Uncle Charlie curveball for Justin Jarvis? That was that's a nice pitch. So I'm excited to see Justin Jarvis. He's going to be in Oklahoma City, I would assume, to start. Who, by the way, the Oklahoma City Comets, I went to the media event. That was a lot of fun. I talked about that the other day. And so Justin Jarvis, I was really just from a humanitarian perspective, I don't know what type of role he will ever have in this system. I mean, I've seen all of these. I mean, you got guys like Nick Frasso and Landon Knack that don't have defined roles because this system is so loaded, right? And so I don't want to sit here and talk about any kind of role for Justin Jarvis because I think he's probably depth at the minor leagues. But from a humanitarian perspective, I was super excited for him. So Nick Frasso, I loved, hey, go again. If you have time, rewatch his inning. Tim Neverett and Rick Monday go into detail of what I've talked about many different times, and that is how Nick Frasso crossfires. They actually showed him, probably from a drone from up above, and then you can see it from the front side here because right there, you can see where he's landing on the third base side of things, and that is a crossfire. And they actually covered that. Tim Neverett actually used that terminology, and Rick Monday actually confirmed it. So I thought that was a lot of fun. And it was also a lot of fun to listen to Rick Monday talk about how Nick Frasso is a lot of knees and elbows, just arms and knees and legs and all that. It's just gangly and it's very uncomfortable for hitters to face. He has reached 100 miles an hour in a game. He has the crossfire. He has the slider. He has the changeup. So I thought it was super exciting to hear Rick Monday and Tim Neverett talk about Nick Frasso tonight. And then try this on for size. So we talk all the time about how good the Dodgers front office is, right? Well, how about the Dodgers getting Nick Frasso for Mitch White and River Ryan for Matt Beatty, right? How about that? So for all of you who want to talk about the Dodgers, any other organization want to talk about the Dodgers buying a championship, try those two trades on for size, right? I mean, they didn't outbuy San Diego for River Ryan. They didn't outbuy Toronto for Nick Frasso. They were smarter than they were. Period. Any discussion. I mean, it's as simple as that. And so another guy that got to pitch tonight, I was super excited to see Jack Little on the main field. Jack Little's a guy that this was his second outing, but he is super fun to watch because he's a guy that's really chill, went to Stanford, originally out of Las Vegas. Very chill guy. I mean, he's a guy that really doesn't usually show emotions, but whenever he gets pissed, man, I mean, it's on. I mean, it's a lot of fun to watch whenever he does get pretty riled up. And so Jack Little is a guy that was in AAA. He made it up to AAA last year, struggled a little bit towards the end of his AAA season last year. But he's a guy that he has a two-seam and a four-seam. Two seams 94-95. His four seams in the 93-94 range. And he has a slider at 84-85. So a couple different fastballs and a slider. Very competitive young man, a guy that the Dodgers like a lot. And so Jack Little got to show his stuff on the main field today. I was super excited about that. And he looked very good tonight, not giving up a run. So I thought that was very exciting to see Jack Little. Of course, that's part of the joke that I was more excited to watch Jack Little and Nick Frasso than I was Shohei Ohtani, right? Because I cover prospects and I'm weird that way. So, hey, let's get to the meat and potatoes to tonight. Let me flip over some video. It will not be of tonight's video, but it will be of Dustin May. So here's what I'm going to say about Dustin May. His first inning was absolutely electric. That right turning two-seam was just absolutely awesome. So if you remember his first outing, he threw one inning, right? And so what he got to do tonight, okay, listen very carefully because this matters. You might think that I'm making an excuse. You might think that I'm just trying to give excuses for Dustin May, this and that. That's fine. But I'm getting ready to tell you how I think the Dodgers will view this because I think it's absolutely the case. So what Dustin May got to do tonight was called an up-down. So an up-down is you get to pitch, then you sit down. What Yamamoto got to his second up-down the other day when he came out to the third inning, right? Then he wasn't as sharp. So Dustin May got to have an up-down. By the way, see that board right there? Oklahoma City just got a new video board this year, so their video board will be a little bit more crisp as far as looking at it in terms of the video, the video quality that it puts out. So Dustin May got to have an up-down. He got to pitch, sit down, have to get back up and pitch again. So coming off of Tommy John, the thing about that is just talking to all these guys that have had to do it, okay, it's not the pain, okay? It's not the velo. It's not any of that. The velo will be there. There won't be any pain. It's the feel. You just don't have the feel. So I really, matter of fact, I think I tweeted out, I really figured that if Dustin May pitched, got all hot, then had to sit down and cool down again, that coming off that Tommy John, that coming back to pitch after that up down would be a very difficult thing for him to do the first time through. This is all part of the process, right? And so that's exactly what happened. He came back out. I'm sure that nothing felt right in his arm. Not that it hurt or anything. It's just you don't have the feels yet, right? And so having to try to warm back up without getting any kind of warm-up period like you do whenever you start the game, I really had a sneaking suspicion that up-down would be difficult for Dustin May, and it absolutely was. So I'll tell you what I'm going to take away from Dustin May is that he looked absolutely electric in the first inning when he had time to get his arm warm, and then I'm just going to go ahead and say that getting an up-down coming off of his Tommy John was a little bit too much for him to pitch to today. So that's what I thought about Dustin May's outing. How about Shohei Ohtani? Shohei Ohtani absolutely is not even human, right? I mean, he's coming back against the Angels, his former team. First at bat of spring training. You got people everywhere wanting to take video from their cameras and everything else. And the dude just steps in there and just nails one opposite field for a home run. I mean, come on. Shohei Ohtani is absolutely not a real human being. I mean, he's just absolutely unbelievable. It was good to see Mookie Betts also get a good hit and get a base hit there. And then I also thought it was interesting the comment that Tim Neverett made about Will Smith. I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was like the Dodgers were like 60-20 or something like that when Will Smith either caught or was the DH. Don't exactly quote me on the exact numbers, but just know that when Will Smith was in the lineup last year, whether it be catcher or DH, the Dodgers won almost all their games. When Will Smith was not in the lineup, the Dodgers were right at 500. That's how important that Will Smith is to this Dodgers team. And I thought that was really cool, the stat that they threw out, that Tim Neverett threw out there. So, hey, I thought Anthony Bonda looked really good. Not really good yesterday, but I thought his $1 million contract, he's going to have a really good year. And then Tanner Scott. Tanner Scott did not look very good yesterday. I wanted to make this comment about Tanner Scott, though. I'll say this. He's had a big grind. I actually put out a hot take about the grind that Tanner Scott had. It took him forever to become a really good pitcher at the major league level. So this guy knows how to grind. He knows how to handle failure because he's had to do it multiple times in his career over the years. And I'll say this too. The one thing he's never done, even last year, last couple years since he's become elite, is have great command. He's always walked too many people, but his stuff is so good that it gives him margin for error enough to be able to overcome not having as good of command or control as he would like. So the 2 walks to me were not a surprise whatsoever. It's not a surprise to me that it's taking him a minute. His first 2 outings have not been good with the Dodgers. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. But I think just the fact that he's never been great with control and command is a situation that will tell you that it's going to take him a minute to do that. Then coming over to the Dodgers, I don't have any worries about Tanner Scott because I think he'll get better control, then he'll have better command, and then he'll be just fine. I was glad to see Alex Freeland get his first base hit. And I'll tell you what, man, Blake Trinan yesterday was absolutely dirty. So the 18 bullpen threw yesterday on Thursday. Kirby Yates gave up a run. Tanner Scott did not look good. Blake Trinan looked great. But I'll tell you who stole the day yesterday for me is this young man right here that I have been telling you for a long time is on his way to making his major league debut. This is Jared Karros, and I actually messaged him this morning because he was throwing that little left turn to lefties. That didn't even look like that. It was more of like a left turn. That one right there. Okay. And I was like, man, are you throwing a cutter to lefties? He's like, no, man, that's my slider. And then I have a changeup, right? And he also has the big 12-6 spike curveball. But I'll tell you, Jared Karros looked just absolutely fantastic yesterday. And he continues to look fantastic every time he goes out. He was just throwing the the fastball to the top of the zone. The velo got up to, I believe, 96, which is great. His spike curveball had a lot of 12-6 tumble. His sequencing, his location was just absolutely awesome. Go back. I've actually got the whole sequence where he struck out Tolia, who was the lefty, with the cutter slider. Then he threw 3 sliders to the right-hander Stallings, and he just kept adding depth to his slider. It was super impressive. Then he spotted up his fastball. He threw his curveball, another slider to a lefty, and he missed his put-away pitch, but still, the whole sequence you can go through, and I've narrated it with at least I've narrated it with words, the sequence that he went through, but it was massively impressive in terms of the sequence of pitches he threw, combined with the execution. Jared Kiros he stole the day for me yesterday. Not surprised because his execution and sequencing is his calling card, but he did a very good job of that yesterday. Also, another very, very promising to me happening was that I thought yesterday Michael Conforto, that swing he took yesterday was like, oh, eureka, there it is. Like, that's Michael Conforto. That's the Michael Conforto that the Dodgers want right there. That's the first time I've seen him just kind of relax and just have a sweet, smooth swing, and he just nailed it off the center field wall. So I thought that was really promising to see Michael Conforto with that great at-bat and the great swing with the double that he had yesterday. And then another really fun moment, you can see me smiling because I love watching these guys get their debut on the main field. This was Kelvin Ramirez. Kelvin Ramirez, welcome to the big time, young man. He came in the fireman's role. He had 2 runners on, and Ramirez came in and stranded both runners, and then he actually got the bases loaded, had to throw strikes, got through that. Fastball touched 98 last year for Great Lakes. So this is another big arm, bullpen arm for the Dodgers in their system. Again, another guy that's approaching 100 miles an hour, Kelvin Ramirez, tumbling changeup, long stretch, especially early last year. As the season went on, his numbers weren't as good. But early on last year, he was like one of the best pitchers in all the minor leagues. He was completely dominant. So he's used to pitching high leverage innings. I was not surprised whatsoever that he knew how to handle himself in the fireman's role yesterday, because that's really kind of what he's been in the Dodgers system since they've been pitching him quite a bit. And then Landon Knack, it was fun to watch him in his debut yesterday. It wasn't perfect for him. 1 1/3 innings, 2 hits, 1 strikeout, 1 walk, 37 pitches, 22 strikes. The execution will get better for Landon Knack as the season goes on. There's Miguel Vargas right there. So 22 strikes and 37 pitches. Landon Knack, typically speaking, will be better than that. He left 2 on base, so not perfect whenever he left. Kelvin Ramirez came in and cleaned things up, so those did not go down as runs for him. But the main thing is here, great to get things started. Big year for Landon Knack. Last year he split just about half his starts between Oklahoma City and L.A. Hopefully this year he can make a bigger splash than that. And Freddie Freeman, it was exciting to see him. Get a base hit too yesterday. And then another guy I want to mention, Sam Carlson. I cannot wait to watch Sam Carlson pitch. That ride and run that he has on his fastball, and then that slider with the left turn is really, really good. Congratulations to Chris Newell. He got his first base hit. Let me bring up, just so you can kind of get a look at, remember, I'm sure if you've watched any of the Dodgers Dogs down on the farm segments, once you see Chris, you'll remember, oh yeah, that's Chris Newell, that kind of deal. So let me go ahead and throw up Chris Newell. This is Chris Newell. A lot of people think that he looks like Cody Bellinger, a young man who actually is the all-time stolen base leader for postseason play in the history of the University of Virginia. He played with Jake Geloff and Brandon Neek. We covered Brandon Neek. I believe on our last show, he was the best minor league pitcher from July on. We covered that. But Chris Newell has light tower power. There's Alex Freeland. He has just unbelievable speed. and stolen base potential. He's another guy that has the potential of, and of course, it's going to come all down to his bat to ball skills. Can he put the ball in play enough to be successful? Not going to sugarcoat that. But when he's actually putting the bat on the ball, Chris Newell is a guy that can hit the ball as far as anybody. He can steal bases as well as anybody. Watch this. Kapow. Look at that. I mean, that is massive home run. So this is a guy that's if it was a pitcher, you'd call it stuff over execution. That is Chris Newell right now. Hey, there's DC, Dylan Campbell, who got traded this offseason. So it was super exciting to see Chris Newell on the main field and getting a base hit. So that was a lot of fun. Giovanni Gallegos had a nice bounce back. And then it was a lot of fun to see Edgardo Henriquez. And in our last show, I actually had a question. Who is better between Edgardo Henriquez and I can't remember who the other one, Carlos Duran, I think was the comparison. And the one thing I said was, hey, Edgardo Henriquez hasn't pitched a whole lot as of late, so the execution isn't great. Well, then he went out there and walked like 4 or 5 guys. Matter of fact, even yesterday he walked 2 guys. So Edgardo Henriquez, although he did walk a couple guys, be patient with the execution. It is what it is. It's his second year back off the Tommy John. He needs some time to breathe so he can improve that execution. But I thought he looked better last outing. And he's another one of those guys that because his stuff is so good that he has a lot of margin for error. And then another guy I wanted to mention, David Bodie. David Bodie, I mentioned him his last year. Remember, he has a minor league option. So the Dodgers can put him on the 40-man and leave him in Oklahoma City. They can put him on the 26-man, send him back to Oklahoma City, and not have to DFA him. The Dodgers got him from the Cubs. I've had a million Cubs fans message me and say, oh, he's a spring training player, this and that. Wait till the regular season. I heard the same thing about Michael Kopech, and I heard that same thing from Chicago White Sox fans, and that was a bunch of baloney, right? So I am super excited about David Bodie. You know, you talk about that position between, you have one spot left between, we thought it was going to be Ha-Seong Kim, James Outman, and Andy Pages. I'm going to put it point blank. James Outman has not looked good at all. I think he's pressing. I don't think there's any doubt about that. He's trying a little bit too hard, a little bit out of his element from that perspective. Andy Pages did a home run the other day. He hasn't looked very good. Ha-Seong Kim, I know I was communicating with, I can't remember who it was the other day. I think Ha-Seong Kim is plus defensively. I want to be very clear. I think his offense has a long ways to go. I don't think he's strong enough. I think that the ball is going to beat his bat. When you have that impact, the ball coming in, hitting the bat. The stronger guys, they're able to generate enough bat speed to where their barrel will beat the ball. Those are the guys that hit the ball hard, like Dalton Rushing, like Chris Newell, like a Damon Keith, that type of guy. Ha-Seong Kim isn't strong enough. He doesn't generate enough bat speed. So these 100-mile-an-hour pitches are going to beat his bat right now. His offensive game, in my opinion, I want to make this clear because I was hoping I wasn't misleading the other day. In my opinion, his offensive game is a long ways away. I don't think he's anywhere close to breaking the club. There's no way, in my opinion, he should be that last guy on the 26-man roster. Okay, because I just don't think his offensive game is there. I think eventually he could be the shortstop because he's great defensively. And as he gets stronger and gets better and just gets older, I think his offensive game could be good. I don't think it's there right now, though. So I wanted to make that clear. But what I meant what I said the other day was that because he can run, he can survive offensively because he doesn't have to get base hits that are clean base hits to the outfield. He could dribble a ball, a 6-hopper to the second baseman and beat it out like we saw the other day. He might be able to bunt for a 200 average, that kind of thing. But still, having said that, I don't think if it was up to me, he wouldn't be on the 26-man roster. The guy that would be there right now, to be honest with you, and this is going to sound maybe crazy, but I would give that last spot to David Bodie. That's who I'd give it to right now. That's who's earned it. That's who the best player's been. He's hit. I think he could probably play a pretty decent second base, and that's who I think has deserved the 26-man roster spot. That's just kind of where I'm at on that. And Chuck Huddleston saying, I think Kim is starting in the minors. I agree with you. Dodgers don't play defenders over hitters. And Craig Osterberg is saying Kim's swinging for the fences, but yet he's not a strong enough guy to be that type of hitter. So, hey, Chris Cnav say, Casey, did you see the Rays prospect that was graded than 80 for speed? Stole 104 bases last year. Is he faster than Hope? His name is Chandler Simpson. I'll tell you, neither one of them are as fast as Kendall George, because Kendall George is faster than both of them, but I have not seen this prospect from the Rays. I have not. I think Bodie is in front now, too, says CNAB. I talk about all the time, merit system over country club system. You guys know I love James Outman. You know I don't think he's gotten a long enough run. It is what it is, though. He's pressing right now. It's a short deal. He probably feels like he's going to have to hit 500 to make the roster, that kind of deal. It's not natural to feel that way. I mean, you can even see the veterans, but it is what it is. It is what it is. You either come out and demand that with your play that the Dodgers put you on the roster, or you end up in Oklahoma City. And the guy, so I am, you guys know, everybody out there knows, I am all about the merit system. I don't like the country club system where you just say, hey, we like this guy. He's my boy, so this is the guy that's going to get it. It doesn't matter how good somebody else is, right? So if you're going to go with the merit system, I think personally that you have to choose David Bodie at this point. Of course, there's a lot of spring training left, less for the Dodgers and everybody else because they kind of split it up with their trip to Tokyo. But that's where I would be at right now. Chuck Huddleston, DePaula had a nice hit going the other way to set up the ninth inning. A winning rally, yes. Hey, everyone, happy Friday. Yes, it is Friday night in the big town. Daniel Berry Sports Highlight. Was your birthday yesterday or Dodgers Dog's birthday? It was my birthday, yep. I turned the cool age of 27 yesterday. Hey, Mike Boyer, thank you so much for joining. I saw Kershaw pitch in the second game of the 88 Dodgers World Series run. That was the run that made me a diehard right there. But D-Mac and Casey can take their place. They could become the next broadcast legends. They would be awesome team and no rush. Yeah, that would be a whole lot of fun. Hey, Johnny Hernandez, you can't say the Dodgers won the trade until the players are playing in the majors. That's fair. That's fair. But I still think that as in terms of just the value that they've created for themselves, I'll say this. I think if you traded Michael Busch right now, and if you traded Zaire Hope and Jackson Ferris in a package deal, I think Jackson Ferris and Zaire Hope would get you a bigger return right now than Michael Busch would. So when you evaluate it from that perspective, I think you can say that the Dodgers won the trade because I think they're more valuable to any organization at this point. Having said that, you are 1,000% correct. And nobody believes in that theory that you got to prove it first at the major league level to actually prove your value. So I totally agree with you from that perspective, Johnny. But I would say that I think that Zaire Hope and Jackson Ferris would bring more value back than just Michael Busch at this point. Hey, good evening to yourself, Michael Boyer. Thanks for the latest spring training updates. Who is the biggest surprise in the offseason, biggest disappointment? I would say biggest surprise so far has been David Bodie. No doubt about it. I'll say this. You guys know I hate negativity. I hate talking about disappointments and that kind of deal. But I think it's Ha-Seong Kim's offense. I mean, I think I was expecting a lot more in terms of him being major league ready on that side of the ball. And I just don't see it. Maybe I'm wrong. Hey, maybe you disagree with me, but I would say Ha-Seong Kim's his offense. I would say that. I would say that whole situation. You know, we talked all off season about. Let's put it all in this package right here. So the biggest disappointment, I would say, we talked about that one spot coming down to Andy Pages, James Outman, Ha-Seong Kim. I would say not any three of those guys have earned that last spot. So that's the biggest disappointment for me. And then on the other side of that, the biggest surprise is the guy that I would choose over them. And that is David Bodie. Hey, Dalton Rushing starting to show his potential tonight. No doubt about that. Yeah, Vin Scully is absolutely awesome. Chuck Huddleston, totally agree with that. Hey, see now, Bodie is also an easy player to use. His last options or DFA the up-down guy. Yeah, you don't have to DFA him because he has options. That's the beautiful thing about him. Hey, Chuck Huddleston, happy birthday. Thank you so much. Women will never admit to be older than 29. Always happy to have a 29th birthday. No doubt about that. Tim G., thank you so much for joining. I think this is the second time Kim got a pitch clock violation. He isn't used to it yet. Yeah, pitch clocks, it's always interesting watching the major league guys struggle with the pitch clocks and the minor league guys just absolutely nail it. So, hey, I wanted to come on here and talk about all the exciting action. Oh, also, Tony Gonsolin, holy smokes, did he look good. Hit 13 pitches the other day. All 13 pitches were strikes. I think he probably had a tee time. And Miguel Rojas is really cool. How about the play Kike Hernandez made at third base? That was awesome. Him and Miguel Rojas created a rally. And, you know, with all of the firepower and the celebrity of this roster, to say that Kike Hernandez and Miguel Rojas mean as much as they do, how big of a compliment is that to those two guys, right? I mean, that's pretty incredible to say. So I wanted to make sure and mention those two. And Hunter Fiducia has been absolutely stroking. I don't put him on the surprise list because he's hitting like 400 over his last 3 spring trainings. So that's been very exciting. Yamamoto did not look nearly as good in his last outing, but he mentioned that he was working on different things and trying different locations in the strike zone. And if you haven't done so, hey, go to my social medias and check out all of the new gear for Oklahoma City. You can see the hat here. I also wear the other Oklahoma City hat. You can also see them build the mural. You can see the video they put together to kind of get people excited about the Comets, and you can see all of that. And then also I got an article of all of the spring training action, so check that out if you would like. So, hey, that's going to do it for me. Friday night in the big town. Again, got a big day tomorrow. Me and the 2 pit bulls and my beautiful bride of 25 years are going to head out to the farm. We're going to get out the chainsaw and we're going to get out all of our loppers and our gloves and everything else. And we're going to go cut a whole bunch of trails so we can have a darn good time in the middle of nowhere. So, hey, that's going to do it for me on Friday night in the big town. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I'm Casey Porter for Dodgers Dogs. As part of the Dodgers Daily Network, it's a great day to be a Dodger.